Kiss You All Over. I want to talk about that. That's coming up, had an anniversary pretty recently, right?
Well, let's see. Let me think. 78. Last year was the 45th anniversary. And of course, that you asked earlier about breaks. That was our really big break to become a nationally known and frankly internationally known band. So it really took us 15 years of frankly working really hard and kind of starving sometimes to get to that point, but it definitely paid off and it changed our whole lives really. And that song still our biggest song, and we hear it every day on different formats. So definitely a changing point in our career.
So what's the genesis of that song? Do you have any fun tidbits about that song? Who wrote it? Where did you guys come up with it?
Well, we had a producer who was from England, and his name is Mike Chapman, and he had a writing partner, Nicky Chin. He was a very successful producer and songwriter in England. He moved to America, and through a series of really strange events, he ran across a tape that we had sent out to people. He was in Los Angeles, lived there, came to Kentucky to see us, and signed us to a record deal. And we worked with him for 2 or 3 or 4 years recording stuff, but nothing ever was a hit. So anyway, fast forward to get to what I was getting at. He wrote the song "Kiss You All Over" and brought it to us. We were finishing up the album called Mixed Emotions, which that song was on. And that was one of the songs that he brought to us and said, guys, I think this is going to be a hit record. So to be honest, we didn't think too much about it. It was just another song on the album. And when, oddly enough, we started, the album was finished, but it wasn't released for a few months. So we were still playing gigs around Kentucky, and we would play the song, and it really didn't get much of a reaction to crowds because no one knew the song. So we were getting kind of worried. We were getting worried. We were going, well, I'm not sure that's the right song to release, But then all of a sudden we get a call one day, literally from, I think it was from Mike or maybe whoever was managing, saying, guys, this song is taking over the world. He said, it's shooting up the charts like you won't believe. So we were literally playing in a nightclub in Lexington for the door money one week. The next week we were in Los Angeles filming the Midnight Special and getting ready to go out on tour with groups like Aerosmith and the Doobie Brothers. I mean, even though we'd been working at it for years, it literally everything just changed overnight. And really, for a couple of years, things were just kind of a blur. I mean, we were touring with everybody all over the world. Didn't know where you were half the time. So it was crazy, but we survived it, and we're still here.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. You work really hard for 15 years, and then you're an overnight success.
Yeah, as we say, we were a 15-year overnight success. But here's the thing. And I don't mean to demean younger artists, maybe artists who win a lot of these contests and so forth. But because we worked so hard and basically worked in every joint you could, we learned how to perform on stage, and we learned how to deal with anything. Whatever could go wrong on stage did at some point. So we always say we never worry about something screwing up on stage because we've dealt with it before. And I sometimes wonder if a lot of these younger artists who've never really grown up paying dues, how they deal with something on stage, and a lot of them don't. And again, that's not to denigrate what they do, but I think paying your dues is a good thing sometimes, and it also makes you appreciate what you have when you get it.
I bet that is the case, and it also makes you're more in a position for the success to land on shoulders that can handle it. For somebody who just starts, if that, it can ruin a person's life, and does a lot of times.
It's interesting. I was just watching this documentary actually last night about some of these boy bands, like in Orlando back in the '90s, and they were created like Boys to Men and Backstreet Boys and all those guys, and really because of all the pressure on them as kids, a lot of them ended up in not very good shape, and really didn't, and some of them didn't survive it. So I think, as you said, paying your dues makes you able to get through the success and not let it go to your head too much either. I mean, I'm not saying we were the most angelic people in the world, but and also I think the fact that we grew up in Kentucky from a middle class background and families that taught you to respect people and things, I think that had a lot to do with it. Because we always say we take what we do seriously, but sometimes we don't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, we're not brain surgeons or rocket scientists. We're just musicians, and that's the thing.
Right. Yeah. So how does it feel looking back? That song, it's on Happy Gilmore, and what other movie? Holly and I were just talking about another movie it was in, one with Dane Cook, where he works in what was it, Holly? Employee of the Month. It was an Employee of the Month, one of my favorite movies. And it's been it's just a legendary song. So how does it feel like that song is a part of not just American culture, but the world over? How does that give you a feeling of pride, or where does that leave you?
It does, and I think that's one reason the song is still so recognizable, because it's been in, I don't know how many movies, 6 or 8 or 10, and also a lot of TV series. And even the last year or two, it's been in some new series. And about once a year, we'll hear new songs in another TV series or another movie, and it kind of keeps it going, and also it makes different generations aware of the song, So so it's one of those, what we call a career record, that a lot of groups aren't lucky enough to have, that it's around for decades, and probably be around for more decades, and quite frankly, we've never really figured out why. It's just one of those songs that just it just catches people.
It's just a good song. It does. There's just something about it. It doesn't do too much. There's not a ton going on.
No,
it's not a banging hook like an AC/DC song, but there's just something about it that's classic, and just such a subtle groove that it just carries you.
Yeah, that you're right, and it's funny. We are now re-recording it again. We've got a greatest hits project that we're re-releasing, and in re-recording it, we realized how simple the song is. I mean, it's just, but for some reason we hit the first 2 chords of the song on stage, and everyone just goes nuts. And I'll also say, as a recording, it stands up. And that's due to our producer. I think it was recorded really well, and the simplicity of it. It doesn't sound dated to me. It still sounds good, when you play it. So it's just one of those songs, recordings that we're very proud of, actually.
I think you have a right to be. Definitely. Yeah, it's super simple. I listened to it yesterday or the day before, and that intro where it's just I guess it's a 1 and a 4 intro. Yeah. It's there's not much going on, but I knew exactly, like, it just brought me right back to the first time I heard it, and it's like, that's it. It's just, there's just something about it.
Yeah, it's kind of got a romantic, sensual groove, and that's really it, And like I say, when we were recording it, it was just another song. Uh, I always thought here's the thing. I always thought that song reminded me of a song by Lou Reed called "Walk on the Wild Side." Take a walk on the wild side.
Hmm.
If you
I'll have
analyze
to
the
listen to
two,
that.
you take a listen to that. If you analyze the two musically, they're very similar. Now, we weren't trying to copy that song at all, but it's just,
Hmm.
so my point was, I thought it was just going to be another album cut. And
Right.
thankfully I was wrong. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Accidental legend status.
yeah, there you go. I like that. An accidental legend.
Well, Exile is definitely legendary.